just wanted to tell you a little bit about this facility. It's my understanding it's been open for about a year, and as you can see, it's a beautiful building. And I think it is available for rental, for weddings, bar mitzvahs, corporate parties, reunions, intimate rehearsal dinners, bridal showers, musical entertainment, floral design, what have you. So I want you to bear that in mind as you're planning to book an event that may be coming up in your life. Right now, we're going to have the invocation from Justin Bruce.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity, Father, just to come together as a city, God, as one voice and a unified mind. God, to seek your guidance and direction, God, for the progression and development of this city. God, now give us good ideas, great ideas. Give us a great sense of unity, God. Give us the ability, God, to put forth solutions, God, to the problems we so desperately seek to solve. God, we'll give you glory and we'll give you honor. We thank you for every body, mind in this place. In your Son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. So we'll get started with our introductions. We have with us on the panel tonight, of course, the Honorable Mayor Tony Yarber and Adrienne Dorsey Kidd, who is the Director of Human and Cultural Services for the city, Michael Rath, who is the Deputy Director, Jason Goree, who is the Director of Economic Development. And we'll open with some remarks from the Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. Good evening. Let me thank each of you for being here today. What is going to be a little bit different than you're typically accustomed to is the mayor nor the staff will be making a lot of comments or remarks. Our purpose to be here today is to hear what you have to say, what you have to offer. We're looking for solutions. We're looking for an opportunity for Jackson to be an amazing place to live, work, and to play. And so that's why you're here. That's why we're here to listen and to take the comments that you may have. Let me just kind of tell you what this evolved out of, specifically tonight's conversation. I was in a meeting probably 2 years ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago, with the mayor in Pearl and the police chief in Pearl and a couple other Rankin County folks, and they started to talk about how they had been able to get the outlet malls and these other places to open up retail stores. And one of the things that they said that struck me, it was an amazing confession that I always knew down on the inside, but it was great to hear them say it, and it gave me reason to run with the ball. What they said was one of the things that they could not offer that the city of Jackson could and should was to be an entertainment hub. And when they said it, it blew my mind that they would make that confession and that admission would come out. And the mayor of Flowood, Gary Rhodes, said that each of us have a niche. And he said what Jackson had to do was to determine how we wanted to develop his niche. Tonight, you all are here. We know that entertainment is absolutely Jackson's niche. We have the unique opportunity to offer entertainment in ways that it cannot be offered anywhere in the Tri-County metro area or in the state of Mississippi, quite frankly. So tonight, we want to take the time to hear from you. Some of you have already emailed me some ideas and some plans. Kamikaze already shot me some stuff, some amazing ideas that he has. So we want to be able to hear from you tonight. I'll talk another 30 seconds by simply saying thank you for coming. We have our sheriff who's here tonight. Thank you for coming, Sheriff. Chief PQ, thank you all for being here. Folks from the media outlet are here. Community members are here. Stalwarts in the community. So we're excited. Jackson State University is represented tonight. And so we're just grateful, and we're looking forward to hear these ideas that you have to move Jackson in the direction of being an entertainment hub that we understand that it has the capacity to be.
Did any of the panelists want to make some comments about projects or initiatives that they have going on in their departments?
We have just completed 14 days of the IBC. we saw probably over 20,000 people in those 14 days. It was a great thing for the city, but I'll tell you, I've heard so many compliments of people, of visitors, some from this country, some from other states, some from other countries, and that just how they were welcomed by the city of Jackson when they were here. And we have our own, I call it, the Museum of Art in the city of Jackson went together 4 years ago and developed what we call is the cultural district. And that is the area downtown around the Art Garden, the Museum of Art, Yarber Hall, the Art Center, the Planetarium. That is the district that we are so proud of, and that's what we have to do is continuously to improve it.
All right, well, with that, we'll begin taking comments from the floor. So I invite whoever wants to get started to come down and let us hear your ideas about an entertainment district in Jackson. No one wants to be first. Yes, please.
I think a lot of people probably feel the same way. I've watched Bear Street start to go and then stop, start and stop. And I think that's really sort of beaten me down, thinking about what could happen down there. Oh, I'm sorry. What I'd like to say is I've been watching Bear Street try to come alive and then it dies. It tries to come alive and it dies. We have a few businesses that are still hanging on there. But it's really hard to keep hope going when this large project that had the possibility of really bringing a lot of people down just sits there. I don't know what the answer is. But I really think that could be something that's an incentive. One other thing I'll say, Capitol Street has been torn up for so long now. I wonder about some of the commercial restaurants and stuff like that on there. They seem like they're losing business, and I don't know if the city's actually tried to subsidize them or give them a tax break. That's all.
Thank you.
Anybody just go next? I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, everybody. So my name is Tamika Gary, and I'm here to hear solutions because in different states they have all kind of things, and people say that there's nothing to do in Jackson. There's a lot of things to do if you want to do it. And so tonight I want to be sure that this is a listening tour, correct? Is that what you guys called it? So we're supposed to give them solutions to what we want. So I know Kazakami, I think that's how you pronounce it? Thank y'all, help me out. He has a lot of ideas. I mean, he is incredibly intelligent and talented, as I think as the mayor stated earlier, he's been giving him some ideas, and I'm sure he's flooded with them because this guy just spits stuff out all the time. So does Valencia. So my thing is, I would love to see something. There's this Soul Wire Cafe, and it's incredible. It's a very small space, but it's for anybody of all walks of life who wants to come in there and use their creative juices and just have a good time. So me personally, I would like to see more of that, not just, and where we are engulfing and embracing all cultures and all walks of life. And it's just maybe one night it's for salsa dancing, and one night it's for the grown and sexy, it's R&B, then another night it's hip hop, but there's strictly, for me, it would be a dress code, and it would be first class, but we will give you everything you absolutely need on certain days of the week. So that would be my suggestion.
Thank you.
Beverly Wallace, Ward 6. One thing that I am starting to see, I don't know if this is by purposeful design, but if not, I think we need to jump on it, and that is to market the city of Jackson as a movie venue destination. I mean, in terms of production here. I've noticed that with the new, the James Brown movie that's coming out, and then when the Help, we had some marketing, some shots, some footage when the movie The Help was out. But just as the city of Canton began to do some years back, Jackson's larger than Canton. We have more to offer. No slight against any Cantonians in the house, but we have more to offer. So I would like to see us really get on top of that. I know that there are there's a thing happening now with the movie industry where certain tax credits are in place, and as well as I know that the Ferry Street project has been just mired down in legal issues and legal problems and all that, but a lot of us are still hopeful that we are still going to at some point see a Ferry Street that is equivalent or grander than Beale Street in Memphis. And we have the space, we know that we have the blues artists, we have the market in place, and I don't know what all it's going to take, but I hope everyone has not abandoned that idea regardless of how many legal hoops we have to jump through to still make that happen.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace.
Frank Mickens, Ward 2. I think we need to determine who we are. People keep saying Beale Street, people keep saying New Orleans. We're not New Orleans, we're not Memphis. We need to get a niche for ourselves. We have assets. Biggest asset we have is the International Ballet Competition. We had 4 years to prepare for it. What happened was you had a group in an ivory tower doing what they've always done, and I don't know what the results were. But I can tell you we had a guy named, we had the Palaces of Versailles, we had the St. Petersburg project, we had the project with the French coming in that we had at the Mississippi Art Center there for a while, and we always missed our attendance goals by 30% consistently. And basically that was because it was not marketed to the entire region that we have right here. For instance, when the Dance Theater of Harlem comes to the auditorium, it's sold out. When the Sound of Music comes in, not so much. When the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater comes in, auditorium is sold out. When the King and I comes in, not so much. New Stage Theater, when they have Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, sold out. When they have Greater Tuna, not so much. So I think there needs to be a concerted effort, as the lady said previously, to include everybody, if not in the primary activity, but at least in an ancillary activity that you can build upon it. Because that ballet competition is outstanding. We could have used that as a venue to present a praise dance, a regional praise dance competition. Praise dance is big all over the country, but no community has found the way of making it institutionalized. They have a praise dance competition in Atlanta, Columbus, California. They do it 1 or 2 years and it just disappears because there's no infrastructure put in place to continue it. With the talent we have at the convention center, with the talent we have with the art museum, with the talent we have with the many churches, we could be a praise dance regional competition center. I was amazed. I went to Atlanta one time and we couldn't find a hotel room for miles and miles. And I said, what is going on? It was the regional cheerleading competition that they were having in Atlanta. And it took them 5 or 6 years to develop it. So let us figure out what it is that we already have in place and build upon it and put in infrastructure. Volunteers are fine, but there has got to be some day-to-day management thinking of what we need to do. So, you know, when people say entertainment, they talk about the steady state entertainment. Where am I going to go on Friday? Where am I going to go on Saturday? Okay, that's fine. You can deal with that for local entrepreneurs. But for these larger events, you really need something that's pretty big. We had Jubilee Jam that was pretty impressive for a while. Why did that go away? Little Richard showed up, place was sold out. When you had the Rocky Mountain Green Boys from Georgetown, Alabama, Mississippi, not so much. So this community seems to want to say we are going to keep ourselves separate irregardless of the economic consequences and economic advantages that God has blessed us with. So again, Mr. Mayor, get some staff in place full-time to handle it. Get a commission put together to coordinate with all of these arts organizations, just like you did with the
the City Pass concept that you have with the museums over there. That is revolutionary. I'm sitting on the Chamber of Commerce Arts Committee, and they say City Pass is not going to work in Mississippi. We've tried for 20 years, it's not going to work because the institutions will not coordinate and work with each other. Well, your staff proved that it could be done if you start early and you make a concerted effort. So Ferry Street is not going to be Beale Street. I'm sorry, it's not going to be. It's not going to be New Orleans.
Thank you, Mr. Mickens. So we really want to hear from everyone tonight, and I'd like to respectfully ask that you limit your comments to 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll try. All right, so I'm the kamikaze guy that people have referred to. I guess people know me. I will agree with Mr. Mickens to a degree that the ballet is an asset, but I think actually our biggest asset in the city is the people that are here in the city, and we're not using that asset. I'm going to tell you a quick story real quick, and then I'll get into my spiel. On June the 20th, on Friday night, and I wrote my column about this in the Clarion Ledger, I happened to be down on Ferry Street. And there were 3 different events going on Ferry Street at that time. One was in F. Jones Corner, one was in the basement next to F. Jones, and something was going on in the Alamo. And if you walked along that sidewalk on that night, what you saw was black and white people, old people, young people, people that love blues, people that love hip hop, and people that were there to go to the Alamo Theater. They were parked all along Ferry Street, all the way up to the Federal Building, and they were walking along the sidewalk. And that is the vision that we have all wanted for Ferry Street for so long. That happened, it happened organically, and it happened without all of the experts that we have tried to get in to try to figure out what we need to do with Ferry Street. So what needs to happen on Ferry Street is that the people who know how to do entertainment and the people that know how to do need to be allowed to do, and government needs to get out of the way and let them do what they do. So for so long, we've had experts, and we get contractors, and we get developers, and we look for people to bring in money. When we have F. Jones, that has been down there surviving despite the stagnant status that is around it. We have people still having events on that street, and we have people who know how to bring entertainment, blues, hip hop, rock music, bands, cover bands, country, that know how to bring these things in. We have to allow them the space to be able to do that. And what I proposed and what I emailed the mayor about, my idea was to, exactly like Mr. Mickens was saying, is to put a person in charge, a commission in charge, put a department in charge of Ferry Street, have people that have good ideas, that have good concepts, that have good business plans come before this panel and give their pitch. And the best pitches that go before this commission, people will take those, we'll go back, we'll look at them, we'll pick those best ideas, those best venues, those best people that are designed to work on that street. Let them get inside of those buildings, let them have their events in those buildings on Ferry Street within whatever legalities we need to put together. We let them do it on their own dime. I know people that are prepared to and ready right now to get in some of those buildings and do what they do. I was in Austin, Texas this past weekend, and when I tell you that it's not rocket science, these are not buildings that took a lot of money to build out. They have a bar in these buildings, they have a stage, they have sound, and they let people walk along the street and they let them come in and they let them hear music. What we have to do is we have to allow this to be organic. We have to let the people get in, and we have to let the people who know what to do get in and make this work without government getting in the way. Whatever we have to do to make sure the JRA is satisfied and the city is satisfied, and even have some assistance from the city in that regard. But those buildings are sitting down there. There are people who want to get in them and make them work, and they need to be allowed to do so, because these are the people that know how to get butts in seats. Butts in seats is what makes money, and as long as those buildings are sitting there idle, that will never happen. And that's not just talking about Ferry Street, but that's talking about Old Capitol Green, that's talking about the ballet. If you want to do entertainment in this town, let the people who know entertainment do it and get the support from the city, and that's my idea.
Thank you.
Well, I don't come behind that one, but Valencia Robinson, I have like simple ideas. We were talking about those empty buildings. It's a building on I think it's in Mid and Capitol, across the street from the Greyhound bus yard. I would love, but I've always visualized what I wanted to do was take a projector and put a movie on that wall. And people can come and just sit on the grass with their blankets and watch the movie. It's free, like you said, this stuff that just happens. Also, when we're talking about entertainment, we have to think about our youth, because people have kids too, and we have to think about what's going on in the city of Jackson for our youth. Find something to do. And I would love if we had a space somewhere to see a racetrack, to see NASCAR come to Jackson. These are just some basic, simple ideas, but like I say, moving out on the green is something simple. We can do that starting next month, and get it moving. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson.
Tyler Cleveland. Want to first echo everything Brad said about Ferris Street. It's been a mess for too long, but any growth that happens there has to be organic. I don't think that we need an anchor store. I don't think that we need to be, obviously the city hasn't really been in the business of refurbishing those buildings, and to bring in an anchor store, it has played a role. But I don't believe we need an anchor. I think there's venues down there. I think there's people that are excited that would get involved if there was less red tape around it. There's already organic growth in other parts of the city as well. I'm very concerned about Old Capitol Green and that project going forward. You know, Hal and Mal's and Martin's have been down there forever. Those guys, that's great entertainment venues. And I think they should be allowed to conduct their business the way they see fit. I don't know what Full Spectrum has done since they've been involved, but I would love to know more about that and what's going on. You know, as far as I know, they own the building that Hal and Mal's is in, and that place has been around forever. It's a Jackson staple, and it should be allowed to conduct its business accordingly. The Arts District, as Mr. Rapp was talking about, is incredible. It's one of the things in Jackson that really needs to be marketed outside of the city, not just around the state, but around the southeast and the country. I think the number one thing that is needed more than anything right now is a convention center hotel. I think that should be top priority for everyone involved. That convention center is beautiful and nice, and we really need to market it, and we're never going to get the big conventions that we want to come in there without a convention center hotel. I know that has always been a top priority. We've had lots of stops and starts, but I think that is a good place to start for getting that convention center up and running. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cleveland.
Ron Flaherty, and we have a studio. I have a studio, I have an art studio, but this is the closest y'all think y'all have. But we are looking to buy property within the next month up in the Commerce Street area. And part of our plans for what we're looking at for the studio is to make it publicly available for classes and that sort of thing. We already do a lot of classes and a lot of work with kids at the Mississippi Craft Center. We're both Craftsman's members, so we have access to their groups that come in. And we'd like to continue that in Jackson rather than in Richland. My suggestion would be to have a single resource for people who are looking to open something in the arts or entertainment, where we have access to what permits are necessary, what our parking space has to be, if there are certain hours in a particular neighborhood that can't be open or that we have to be open. Are there grants available? I know there are national NEA grants. There are national arts grants. The state, where the Mississippi Arts Commission has grants. But it's just the two of us. And we have done well enough. We bought a studio in North Jackson less than 3 years ago, and we are already busting at the seams. So we have chosen, she lives in Rankin County and I live in Jackson, and we have chosen to only be looking for property downtown. It's an intentional choice, but we would like for y'all to make it as easy for us as we can, because it's only the two of us. So my suggestion would be one mentor, one clearinghouse, one person that we would have a contact number for, that we could say, okay, this is what we want to do. You tell us step by step what's available. We don't want you to do the work for us. We want you to do the research for us, and we can take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, I'd just like to take a moment to recognize any elected officials that we have in the House. I see some of our council members on the front row and Representative Clark. Is there anyone else that came out tonight? No? Okay, thank you.
Greetings, Pat Henderson, educator, Provine High School. I want to ask a question. I want to begin by asking a question. Where did Jackson derive his name? Anybody can answer that? Andrew Jackson. Correct. Correct answer. If there is such a thing, but it's correct. Andrew Jackson, where Jackson derived his name. Picture with me, if you will. My man Kamikaze came up and talked about people walking down the streets in a festive type setting. Well, the key to coming together in a festive type setting is to have a centralized theme. Picture with me, if you will, whether it be right, whether it be wrong. The theme of Andrew Jackson. Why was Jackson named after Andrew Jackson? I'm not quite sure. Was it his crossing place? Was it his, some battle that he won here? I'm not quite sure. But Jackson has a unique feature in the Pearl River running straight through the city. My goal is to see us capture that in a map using Andrew Jackson as a hub theme for all races, all origins, people of all walks of life to come together under, and we expand from there. It's just a suggestion. Think about it, ponder it, pray on it, and we'll move forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sammy Moon, and I have a couple of ideas I want to share. One comes from a little town, actually not as large as Jackson, but a town on the Georgia-Florida border called Colquitt, Georgia. There's a model there that's been put in place called Swamp Gravy Theater. And basically it came about because the town was dying on the vine. There was no economic engine to drive the town. And the leadership of the town had the idea of what can we do that will revive this town? What they realized is the only thing they had to build on was their stories. And so they began a process, and this builds on the theme of the strength of a place is its people. I think that's very true. Colquitt, Georgia collected stories from people. It became a way to unite communities that hadn't worked together before. They themed those stories into performance art, a play, and they began to get local folks to put on that play. Long story short, it is now the economic engine of Miller County, Georgia. It's an unbelievable success story. So if you Google Swamp Gravy Theater, you're going to find the story of that evolution and how it brought community together and how it has now become an incredible economic engine that has revived not only that town, but the region around it, and has brought people together in a way that's very significant. They now have an international mural competition. They have a film development studio there. They have housing development. They have all sorts of stuff that has evolved out of Swamp Gravy Theater. So it's a great model. Second thing that I want to suggest is that a lot of creative ideas come from neighborhoods, and there are many neighborhood associations in Jackson. What seems to be lacking here is an association of neighborhood associations. Some way of bringing those neighborhood associations, those great ideas together, ways that people can share ideas, creative things that they're trying, things that are working, what they're learning. So in Louisville, Kentucky, there was a META, if you will, neighborhood association of neighborhood associations that was run through the city and brought folks together and had representatives from all across the city sharing, learning, and growing with each other. So, 2 suggestions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moon.
Good evening. I'm Tony Smith of Aon Properties. You know, I've always been raised that if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. They said the wise and the foolish builder in Matthews. The biggest problem that I'm faced with as an investor in Jackson, I have about 20 properties, is crime. Vandalism, theft, pawn shops, salvage companies, bad replacement companies. We have to do something. I've lost over $20,000 over just the last year. 7 catalytic converters, glass truck vandalized, buildings vandalized, car wash vandalized. That we have to have some kind of program and which I have a program, which I called your office, Mayor Yarber, that the Jackson will make money on it and it will suppress theft, and vandalism by 25% over the next 5 years. All I ask you to do is call me, 601-291-HELP. The second part is that as an investor, the investors paid a huge amount of taxes in Jackson. You have property, companies are running away from Jackson. They're doing what's called absolute sales. They're giving away properties. Well, I've been buying these properties. But the hard part is the property taxes. You're paying the same property taxes as people are paying up north when you can't get the same rents. Something has to be done. That if you have an investor who has, say, 5 properties or more, give them some type of discount to get an incentive to continue to invest and rebuild. That's all we ask. I have a program. Call me. I'll show it to you. City of Jackson's going to make money. Rather than tear down houses, get them to rehab those houses. It's a whole different story. I got a house right now. City's trying to tear it down. It needs less than $2,000 for work. Well, I got several other projects going on. Work with us, not against us. That's all I'm asking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Evening, everybody. How y'all doing? My name is George Chuck Patterson. I stand here as a representative of members of Greek letter fraternities and sororities, an alum of Tougaloo College, an employee of Tougaloo College, and a resident of Jackson, Mississippi. I'm not sure how many people pay attention to the number of meetings that fraternities and sororities have in the city of Jackson, whether it take place on Jackson State's campus or at Tougaloo. But if we place a larger focus on luring some of those district or national meetings that take place for fraternities and sororities, a lot of money comes because it's guaranteed visitors to whatever place that the fraternity or sorority is having that meeting. I don't think that there has been anything larger than a district or regional level meeting that has happened in the city of Jackson, at least in the past 20 years. That's one idea. Especially with us having so many people who are influential members of fraternities and sororities here in the city of Jackson. The second thing, we've been doing Mississippi Greek Weekend since 2008. We started it at Tougaloo College and we grew it out from there. We received letters of support from the city, but no major support from the city other than a few bodies here and there. We've done everything basically on the backs of members of local fraternities and sororities, and then with the support from my alma mater and my place of employment, Tougaloo College. We've had people travel from as far as Illinois in terms of going north, as far as going west, California, and as far as south as Miami, Florida. Each year the attendance grows larger and larger. We tried it on non-JSU game weekends as well as with the JSU game weekends, and we're still growing regardless of whatever the day that the weekend falls on. We always raise money for local charities and events that benefit people that live right here in Jackson. So I think that everything that everybody has said here tonight is good, but I think one of the things that we tend to forget about here in Jackson is recent college grads and folks who go to school right here in the area. So those are the two people that I've marketed to for the longest. I've been DJing in Tougaloo, Mississippi since I was 17 years old. When I moved back to Jackson at 23, started working at Tougaloo, I continued to DJ, and that has taught me everything that I needed to know about higher education and what to do with people. So the two people that we always forget about in Jackson, or most times we forget about, are college students, and then those folks who graduate and then go on to graduate school. So between those two ideas that I just suggested, I believe that we could increase the number of people that we get to stay in the city of Jackson and they don't leave and go to Atlanta, Dallas, Nashville, and Memphis. Peace.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson.
Good afternoon. I'm Commissioner Jamel Clark. And my line of questions is a little bit different, but it still regards to entertainment. I have several questions I need to ask. I want some clarity too. Recently in the newspaper article printed by Clarence Ledger, it said $25,000 was sent to Chicago Blues concert, which was held in Chicago, Illinois, from the Jackson Convention Center, JCBD. for the Mississippi stage. Is the Jackson Visitor Convention Center under the city of Jackson's control? That's question number one. If so, how can the city of Jackson afford to send $25,000 for this event? Question number two. Number three, what was the source of this $25,000 for the concert in Chicago, which was free? However, for the citizens of Jackson, Rhythm and Blues concert, there's no charge. Or there's a charge, there is a charge for the Jacksonians to attend. This is not for or an equitable situation for the citizens of Jackson, Mississippi. And finally, the money could be and should be spent on repair and maintenance of the city of Jackson infrastructure. So those are some questions that I'm posing to you. I do know that that money was in part of the MDA's Mississippi Economic Development Authority to pay some of that money. I don't know where the money comes from the Jackson side. So those are several questions that I had, and we just centered around entertainment. Why are we providing free entertainment for citizens of Chicago, Illinois, and when we have concerts here, the citizens of Jackson have to pay? I think upward $25 to $50. I know one of the concerts I attended last year was at the Ag Museum, and that was the price. So why can't we get some of the same benefits? Now, grant you that pretty much we may get some people to come down to some of our events from Chicago or maybe Nebraska. I think with Arizona and several cities that the NDA had planned, targeted, for Jackson to express that we are here and market our city. But at the same time, let's give our citizens who have to pay the taxes and the infrastructure, pay for it, let's give them some of the same incentives that we have given our states that are a little bit further north, east, west, and south. So if we could, the panel maybe answer those several questions that I asked, I would be very much gratified.
Well, let me address it, and I'll address it this way. Before the city of Jackson can expend any funds, the city council has to approve that, and there was never an order that granted $25,000 to come from the city's general fund or any other fund to fund it. I don't sit on the JCBB board. Met with them. Those folks are appointed to sit there. And I think that board, if I'm not mistaken, was established, and Representative Clark is here, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that board was established through legislation. I don't know. I assume that's what it was. But my point is that that money was not, never came out of the city of Jackson's coffers.
Answer the question one. Two others.
Well, I need you to repeat it.
I guess the other is where his money is coming from, and why, if that's the case, why couldn't this money be spent on the infrastructure of the city of Jackson?
Well, I can't answer where it came from. You have to ask that to that particular board who governs that money.
Can you look into it for me, Mayor?
I sure can.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
All right.
I'm Emil Wilson, and I make my entire living in the creative economy. I produce the Mississippi Aesthetic, Mississippi's Arts and Culture magazine, and produce feature films. In fact, we just shot a big project using Mississippi money, partially, and we shot it in Malaysia because we weren't able to put together the Mississippi capital, have a controlling interest, and force a project to come here. So in a lot of ways, this isn't about suggestions for you guys so much as it is suggestions for the audience. The first thing, both as a city and as a community, we have to ask our experts, and we have to respect our experts. We have to go outside of the city and look for experts on tourism, on theater, on dance. We have to find these experts who have built in other places, get their advice, ask their advice on how to build here, and we have to respect the experts that we have currently. Texted the mayor earlier about issues regarding Mara's reconstruction and renovation, and there were some issues that arose regarding that. Some of that could have been fixed had someone had the foresight to get hold of a consultant who did nothing but theater development. Jackson Academy's brand new theater is beautiful, state-of-the-art, top-notch, and one of the reasons is because they got one of those experts who happened as well to be locally, who consulted with the architects throughout to make sure that not only did it meet building standards, it met theater standards. So we have to ask experts, we have to respect the local experts. Additionally, we have to have public support and private support for government ideas and government initiatives. Our films, our projects, they only work if there is private support, if there is private capital going in. And part of that is that we have, as a community, we have to build within. What are the needs that you're experiencing in your community? That's where you need to be building. What's our hindrance? Someone said it earlier, it's taxes, taxes, taxes. Property taxes are an issue, business taxes are an issue. All of the various, the signage tax, the inventory tax, the excise tax, all of these things which are often not the city's fault, they're the county's fault. And that is a big part of what is hindering business investment within. Beyond building within, we have to reach out. The palaces of St. Petersburg, splendors of Versailles, those failed in no small part because the advertising budgets started turning inward. No community can be self-sustaining with arts and entertainment. Alabama Shakespeare, Utah Shakespeare. I'm friends with a lot of these executive directors around the country. All of them from cities even larger than Jackson talk about it's not the community itself that is the one funding everything. It is the tourism coming in and building in that location. We have, as a group, we have to meet our needs, but we have to also look at what are the needs outside, advertise to those people, and bring them in. All of that comes into we have to tell our story. And that's a question that has to be posed to the City of Jackson government. What is our story? Celebrate Jackson, City with Soul, Bold New South. What is the story of Jackson? What is it that we can rally around? That's what we are asking the leadership today. We need a vision, we need a mission, and then we need the impediments taken away so that private industry can step forward and address those concerns. So I think I've given you guys a little bit of homework, and I've given everyone in the room a little bit of homework on how to build a better city through arts and entertainment.
I'd like to have a discussion with you afterwards about the Yarber Ball.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Afternoon, Keith Richardson, and I apologize for looking at my cell phone, but that's where my notes are. We spoke about some of our biggest assets earlier, and everyone has their opinion on what that is. And in my opinion, I think our biggest asset is the 40+ thousand college students that we have in Jackson. You come to Jackson and you don't think of Jackson, at least I don't, and I don't know anyone who does think of Jackson as a college town. But in actuality, I guess it should be with 40,000 students. And with those students, what you could do is create a center mass, because I think with the entertainment district, that's what we're looking for, is a center mass of things. And I don't see why not we can't start with from Jackson State to downtown being that center mass. So there are a lot of abandoned buildings in that area for whatever reason they are. How could we start giving those abandoned buildings to entrepreneurs and let those people get those buildings back on tax roll, maybe give it to them for a year or two tax free, and let them do whatever they do with those buildings. And I think that would be a good start. Someone mentioned racing earlier, NASCAR. I think race would be a good option. I don't personally think NASCAR is the option for Jackson, but me personally, I've spent a lot of money over the years, in the past 10, 15 years, going to Hattiesburg to see drag racing. And I also have, although it may be illegal, I have friends who drag race on the streets. Let's be honest, we know what we've seen. But why not put a drag racing strip in Jackson where you get the kids and the people off the streets racing illegally and turn that into tax revenue for the city? Because my uncle used to have a drag car, and we used to enter that car in Hattiesburg Speedway, and we were paid, between $200 to $500 just to enter our car in a Hattiesburg race. But the winnings on that could be substantial. You have races that are $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for 20 seconds worth of time. So start taxing that money. Another option, a lot of people may not have different feelings about it, but the reality TV show, The Dancing Dolls, that comes on Lifetime, those girls are making a lot of money. She just signed another contract for another year of reality TV show. She's getting between 1 and 2 million viewers per episode, per night. She's traveling the country. She just left Chicago. She's going to Michigan. She's going to Atlanta. She's going to Dallas. And she's hosting these dance shows everywhere around the South except where? Jackson, where she's from. She lives, her business is here, but we won't support her for whatever reason. So like the people said, get the experts who know what they're doing. Let the city and the government kind of get out the way other than to provide support for these people. And let those girls have, however you may feel about it, but they're making dollars, a lot of dollars. We do a lot of printing for them, t-shirt printing, and they come to us and get t-shirts printed every day, and that's no exaggeration, every day. Either her, the organization themselves, or the parents of those little girls, or the friends of those little girls. So, excuse me, my phone went off. All right, and last one, we spoke about Barry Street, and everyone has their feelings about that. I'm under the impression that, just get everybody out of it and let the free market take over. Get the people in there who have the money, who have the capital, who have the ideas, who have the capacity to turn Barry Street into wherever it may be, and to let the free market take over, whether it's an entertainment district, whether it's a retail district, whether it's mixed use, or whatever the case may be. But if sometimes too many people, sometimes democracy is the best option. Sometimes you have to have people come in there and just say, okay, we're gonna do this, and get it done, and get everybody out the equation so that all these competing ideas and opinions don't get in the way. So give it to the person who has the $10,000 to open the store, do whatever the case they want to be, and just let's see what the free market decides. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pretty much said everything I wanted to say. My name is Robert Walker, also known as Mr. Maine from 97.7. I've been a DJ here in Jackson for 13 years. Although I'm not a native of Jackson, Mississippi, I'm from Houston, Texas. A lot of my family is here in Jackson. I chose to stay here in Jackson because I saw a lot of potential in Jackson. Jackson is a small city that's on the rise, whether you see it or not. But what's stopping Jackson of being or getting to its full potential is the market. And like the gentleman said before, you have too many hands trying to control this and control that, then you have a buddy system going on, this and that. Let the free market choose that. The city is the people of Jackson, Vernon Addition, South Jackson. We have all these abandoned buildings in these areas. Even we got Lake Hyco, we have a lake, but we can't fish there. We got to go outside, we got to go deal with Flowwood, trying to get past Flowwood police just to get out there. You see Hine County tags, they're gonna pull you over. And so we confined, this is serious. And so we have a lot of things in Jackson that we don't take advantage of. We have, I hosted the Chicago Blues Festival that the gentleman talked about. They have people from Germany, France. You got people all over the country coming to Chicago for blues. And everybody knows Mississippi, this is where it is. This is authentic. You can't get any authentic than Mississippi. And I don't think that we're taking advantage of that. And I think that there's a lot of people there's a lot of red tape involved. And also the taxes involved. You got all these different marketing tools that you have. You have Jackson State, you have Tulu. I'm a graduate of Jackson State University in the marketing department. You have all these great minds from Chicago, from Texas, from Louisiana that have these great ideas, but you have these red tape or people or personnel that's stopping these great minds from thinking. I think it's time to stop thinking in the box and think outside the box and let the younger generation have a larger input or at least have a word in those situations. And I commend y'all for having this event to allow the community to come out here and talk to y'all directly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Good evening. My name's Joseph Stodgel. I own and operate Martin's Restaurant and Bar. My business has been downtown since 1953. And good Lord willing, it'll be there for a good while more. I can't take all the credit for it. I'm the third owner and a second generation owner. But there are a few things that we do that has kept us downtown. Entertainment's one of them. We book live shows every single Friday and Saturday night. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, but that's who we are. Mr. Mayor, the solution to me is pretty simple. Incubate the businesses that have been here, that have been doing this for years and years, and that's where it starts in my opinion. They're the ones that have found the way. Good economy, bad economy, no matter who the mayor was, no matter what was going on, to get through this and still grow. Whether that be incentives for, resort status, things of that nature. If you're a full service restaurant bar and you have a liquor license and you're all above board with the state, let it ride. We have something here in downtown Jackson that they do not have. Flowood, Madison. They can put in all the Outback Steakhouses they want to. Put in all the white box stores if they want to. They do not have this.
That's right.
You cannot recreate this. This place has been around downtown for a long time. And I think that's the first step. A lot of people get caught up in this street or that street, this project or that project. Let me tell you something. Owning a building and a business downtown, it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And everybody that's had one, that's been through this so many years, has paid their dues. And people come back for a reason. And I think it starts there. And then, all of a sudden, Beale Street didn't start out as a district. It started out as a couple of places. Everybody wants to go somewhere that's progressive, it's busy. You walk into a place, you see 2 or 3 people, odds are you're going to maybe have a drink, eat something, leave. All of a sudden, you go in there, it's busy, you're going to stay around. You're going to stay around a lot longer. I appreciate y'all having this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening to everyone. My name is Wes Miller, and I just have a few ideas, and I'll try to be very brief. Every time I go to another city, I look at what other places have, and I look at what we don't have. And then I look at the type of people that frequent those establishments or those events. If you look at what children want, in a lot of cases, I don't see things put together so that kids can come in and do things like skating, skate parks, go-karts, where splash pads and playgrounds and bike trails and all those types of recreational types of entertainment are linked, where you can get children to come together in a place. I don't necessarily see in the city of Jackson where you can see elderly people coming together with those children. Every time you go to another city, if you go to New Orleans, you go to Philadelphia, you go to California, and they have craft markets and food markets mixed together, and it brings together older people, younger people, it's the micro enterprise, and all those things are together, and they work very well together. And I don't think that we have a venue. We may have a separate farmers market, but you don't have the farmers, the craft, and other things come together where people sit down, where you have a mixture of elderly and young coming together, talking, and exchanging ideas and information. When you look at, there's some other very basic ideas like students. We don't have basic things like a movie theater in the city of Jackson. It should be very easy to have a captive audience in an area like Jackson State, where you have X number of students that could come and frequent that movie theater any and every day. We have to go to Clinton or to Madison or somewhere else to simply go to see a movie. So a lot of these things will work. And then I think ideas like water, building entertainment around water and activities, the nightclubs and all this kind of thing when you get to adults of a certain age. You know, a lot of people like to simply sit down at a club and drink, or even people like to go and talk or see or watch, and so many different events take place. Someone mentioned HICO. There's the concept of the 2 rivers theme, or the 1 river theme has been going for so long, but it's time that a lot of action is taking place on some of these different ideas. I've heard talk of a Jackson State Entertainment District, Fair Street Entertainment District, Capitol Green Entertainment District. It might behoove us to concentrate on having one entertainment district, look at what's not working in one, Fair Street may work very well. I think that there are problems with having churches in the middle of an entertainment district, homes in the middle of the entertainment district where there are children walking around. Those things present problems that are very difficult to get around. So I think we just kind of need to decide, okay, let's start working on an area, and let's start looking at the comprehensive plans, who has all these plans, put them together and come together with something that actually works. But the things that people are looking for, I think, are very simple, and you don't have to look too far. The examples are right out there for us.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Before the next citizen comes up, I wanted to say that this is an hour-long listening session. We're about to reach our time limit. I do want to hear from the 3 individuals who are in line. I just ask that you limit your comments.
Good evening. I'm Yolanda Clark. It's good to have a venue where we can voice our various opinions. My statement relates to the selection of this facility, which is a nice facility. However, when I called City Hall, the lady did give me the address, but that is all that she gave me. I work downtown and I'm familiar with most of the buildings, and had she said that it was right behind Bearfield Office Complex, I could have found it, no problem. The other concern I have is that in regard to the American Disabilities Act, it seems as though that was not considered for people who have physical challenges or maybe in wheelchairs. You may have an elevator in the building, but you don't have an elevator coming up the parking lot. And it wasn't even described where we could park. We essentially followed Representative Clark, who had a City of Jackson police escort, and she had to climb 2 sets of stairs. So, and then it is extremely hot in here with 90-degree weather outside. But thank you for the opportunity for all of us to voice our opinions.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Lunardini, and I've had one real dream that I want to mention. I'd like to see a lateral park that goes from somewhere near the electric station, near the Intermodal Center, up toward Fortification Street, parallel to the railroad track, on land that's not being utilized very much. And I'd like for it to contain a skateboard area for children. I'd also like to see it have benches with some shade where like the gentleman before me spoke of, where the elderly and the children could be together, where you could stroll a baby, where you could walk to downtown from the place over there. What is that Snell pedestrian way that comes over the railroad track? I've always thought this would be a benefit to people working downtown and to people that live midtown. Secondly, on Ferry Street, and maybe this is what Brad was saying, I would like to see local businesses there. I'd like to see Lumpkins or E&L Barbecue. I'd like to see others, Stamps Burgers, people that know our people and know what we like to eat. I'm not particularly interested in a daiquiri world or some great big national chains coming in that charge way too much. And somehow we've got to get the rent down to the point where our local businesses can afford to be there. Thank y'all.
Good evening. My name is Shirley Miller. I live in Ward 3, and I have 3 quick things to talk about. I visited Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they what they decided to do is their focus downtown is around the aquarium. They decided that this was what they wanted to do. It's how they were going to revitalize their downtown. I'm not necessarily talking about an aquarium here, but I like the fact that we have a focus. One of the things too in downtown Chattanooga, there are buses at night to take people from place to place so that they don't have to walk in the street and be afraid about walking downtown. In Phoenix, they have rickshaw, and the rickshaw personnel are ambassadors for the city. And some people tip them, but they love riding around and showing people the city of Phoenix. I think we need to make sure that our local Jackson legislators help us make this city better. I think we missed a part where we aren't utilizing any state tax credits or tourism designations, and those things have to come from the legislature. So we're looking for our local Jackson legislators to help us make this city better. And thank you, and I'm glad I'm last.
Thank you. Mayor, did you have any closing remarks?
I do want to say thank you again. You all have some great comments. Several of those comments, it was good for us to hear because it's affirmation about some of the things that we have been talking about as we prepare to move into a new season in our city, specifically with entertainment. I'm going to limit my remarks. Ms. Pittman has gotten up, so I'm going to yield to her at this time. Ms. Pittman.
I've been in Jackson since I was 12 years old. Sunday I'll be 80. And I have seen this city rise and fall. But one component in this city that no one has mentioned, and that's our churches. I have suggested to some of the leaders, because our people work different hours, and especially on Sundays, they don't have time, a chance to go to church. And I suggested that we have a 24-hour church. We didn't have to have it all in one church, but in different communities, and let the folk know that church is going on so that they can attend the service. I also suggested to them that because of the crime that's centrally located seemingly in the black community with our black boys, that each one of them at least employ one of these young men. Give them something to do, because they gotta eat. And if you don't give them a job, they're going to rob and steal and do whatever else that they need to do for their livelihood. And I suggested that if each church would find these boys and pick out the one that has leadership ability that leads the other ones, give them a job in the church. Of course, they may come back and they may rip off the intercom system. They may rip off something, but at least you have given them a chance. And you may save somebody. So let's don't leave out the church and the influence it will have in the community. So I ask you to contact this Baptist, the interdenominational churches, whatever they are, and ask them if they will go along with something like this. Because people have to work, and they don't have, excuse me, the luxury, like we do, of being able to go to church on Sunday at 8 o'clock or 11 o'clock, or come back to Baptist Training Union, whatever you have on Sunday afternoon. So we need to think outside the box when it comes to our churches and trying to save our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pittman. Finally, I'll say, I think the biggest takeaway for me tonight is that the city needs to hear you in terms of how do we develop policy that encourages the kind of growth, both organically, specifically organic growth of our entertainment piece, as well as how do we ensure that there are other opportunities, whether they're immigrated in or not. But we need to set great policy and make sure that that policy encourages the kinds of things that you all have been talking about. Then we need to get out of the way. We also need to, I also hear that we need to commit to having staff that is committed to moving the ball. So we hear you, and those are things that we'll turn our focus to immediately. It's a great time to start talking about the staff piece as we start talking about budget. We've got the council president here, the council vice president, so I'm sure that they're hearing that as well. So those are our takeaways, and as well as some folks that I think that we really need to have some follow-up conversations with. If there are those ideas that you had and you did not get an opportunity to voice those ideas, feel free to email me at tyarber@city.jackson.ms.us, tyarber@city.jackson.ms.us. By the way, it's YARBER. And also want to encourage those of you who have these ideas. We're calling it free help, okay? Free consulting. And so when you send us those ideas, you're our consultants, and we appreciate that. I also want to address quickly the selection of this facility. I want to be sure that we're able to ensure that folks who need to get to the elevator, that you can, and those of you who need to have the kind of assistance that you need, that you're directed to do so. So I don't know whether or not any of the proprietors of this facility are able to come up and give us some directives, or if somebody from staff can do so prior to us closing. But if not, if we can get those, Teresa or somebody, if you can get somebody to come up and make sure that we have some directives on getting out of here, specifically for folks who may not be able to navigate their way through those steps, those stairs. So I'll yield now to you, Ms. Bird, and you can tell us about our next meetings.
Right. Yes, sir. Our next meeting will be Monday, July 7th at New Jerusalem Church at 1285 Raymond Road in the sanctuary, 6 o'clock. We're going to discuss dilapidated housing. All of you should have gotten a little program, and on the back is our schedule of all of our listening tours. I'd also like to encourage you to visit our website at jacksonms.gov. There you'll be able to sign up for a feature called Notify Me. You will be informed about anything that's going on in Jackson. We also have something on our website that allows you to sign up for bid opportunities, and you can also use our website to see the council meetings in case you can't get down to City Hall. So with that, I will close and thank you all for coming out tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
God bless.